This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
The Clayton and Sherman Antitrust Acts were the first antitrust legislation to be enacted in the United States. Additionally, they were both passed to ensure that small and large companies compete fairly in the market economy. Clayton Act controls unscrupulous practices, such as exclusive dealing contracts and price discrimination, which may interfere with fair competition in the market economy. Besides, this act was implemented by the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission. On the other hand, the Sherman Act was enacted to prohibit corporations from engaging in any trust, conspiracy, or contract that may monopolize the market. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, and the Department of Justice, DOJ, play significant roles in the enforcement of antitrust regulations. Moreover, the Federal Trade Commission handles cases that relate to unfair business practices such as monopolistic competition, deceptive advertising, price discrimination, and scams. It also reviews the cases and mergers to check for any corporations that might engage in unfair competition. Conversely, DOJ prosecutes persons found to violate the antitrust acts. The DOJ takes such persons to court and files suits against them, which may lead to imprisonment or large fines. The United States has effective antitrust policies that it uses to control unfair competition in its market economy. Additionally, the DOJ and FTC enforce the antitrust rules. The effectiveness of the policies should be based on their success in relation to the objectives they should achieve. The United States antitrust policies are effective as they keep corporations from setting unfair prices. For instance, the implementation of the policies has led to the removal of monopolies and the creation of an environment in which every company has an equal opportunity to compete for market resources. Federal regulatory agencies. Apart from the FTC, there are other federal regulatory agencies in America. Some of the other agencies include the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the United States International Trade Commission, USITC. By establishing the CFTC in April 1975, the United States future market could easily be controlled. Besides, the creation of the SEC in 1934 also led to the control of market securities. It also takes part in the enforcement of federal laws that control the securities in trade. The creation of USITC on September 8, 1916, led to the provision of important information regarding trade in the American market. Moreover, its establishment also led to the provision of expertise who worked in the executive and legislative branches of the government. The three independent regulatory legislations, CFTC, SEC, and USITC, have their own strengths and weaknesses. The CFTC is recognized for educating consumers about the future markets in the country. Conversely, it has failed to provide adequate information regarding different kinds of fraud in the market. One of the strengths of the SEC is that it interprets federal security regulations and amends and issues new laws. Additionally, it coordinates other regulatory bodies that also deal with securities matters. The last legislation, USITC, excels in analyzing industrial and economic matters. It also investigates intellectual property-based imports. However, the USITC has not been able to provide adequate tariff and trade information. Consequently, this has caused external customers to incur losses. The three regulatory legislations are effective as their operations are not in any way affected by other arms of the government. Congress is responsible for creating legislation in the United States. Moreover, the President, with the approval of the Senate, is responsible for appointing the commissions. Members of the Congress are only allowed to serve for a fixed term. Besides, they should demonstrate integrity during their services. The effectiveness of the legislation is also evident in their success as they are able to create rules that control the operations of various corporations. Groundswell. Groundswell is a network in which people apply technologies to obtain what they need from one another. The main components of the groundswell are people and the Internet. For instance, people use the Internet to sideline corporations and neutralize their effects on the market economy. The groundswell also uses social media like Facebook and Twitter to make corporations listen to the problems being faced by their customers. In this way, groundswell appears to be advantageous to most people. Groundswell's marketing strategy should not only create group pages on the Internet and social media, but also use them to create long-term customer relationships. Moreover, the relationships should be based on the selling price and customer acquisition. The strategy should also convert the social opportunity created by Groundswell into a marketing advantage by incorporating the community into its network. The main effect that e-commerce has on Groundswell revolves around information. E-commerce allows different individuals to collect information online and use it accordingly. It also enables organizations to keep 24-hour contact with their customers as they can send new promotions and updates. Online business is essential since business owners can make their customers visit their businesses regularly through the Internet. China and its businesses. The major strength of China lies in its ability to develop products that can be purchased by every consumer, including low-income earners. The country exclusively applies a renovation model to develop its companies and businesses. However, the country is not original in its technological innovation. It keeps on borrowing knowledge from other countries and multinational corporations that operate in it. There are costs and benefits that a country or corporation accrues when it does business with China. The main benefits include properly developed infrastructure and cheap manpower. The drawbacks include cultural barriers and fear of finding a market for products that originate from China due to the negative attitude that most people have about them. The Chinese government plays a vital role in ensuring that business within and outside the country runs smoothly. Firstly, the government ensures that infrastructures are well developed to support effective transportation. Secondly, the government provides grants and loans to corporations to help them run their businesses. Lastly, the government imports business expertise and manpower. China presents a number of opportunities and threats to the world. First, the country, through its cheaper products, creates competition with the global markets that are beneficial to consumers. Additionally, the expanding Chinese economy continues to create employment opportunities for the country's citizens and non-citizens. However, China may end up monopolizing international markets through the cheap commodities, which it produces in abundance. The United States is one of the countries that may be outplayed by China if it continues to trade in cheaper products in the markets. Did you like this difference between the Clayton Antitrust Act and the Sherman Antitrust Act sample? To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the database of academic paper examples at ivypanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs.